us because we're coming off a day when we needed to take it off. We hadn't had one since early last week. And we want to make sure that we're clicking on all cylinders in the sense of where our energy is, where our edge is, where our mindset is, and at the same time improve our fundamentals and get ready for a game. And it's another quick turnaround with a game Saturday and a game Monday. And again, the practice on Sunday will be short as well. But the bottom line this time of year is, are we refining our edge? And that's what we have to do. And we have to refine it individually, and we have to refine it as a team. And the key is that we just continue to improve. And that's what we're completely focused on. And improving ourselves, improving our mentality and preparation for games, and making sure that we can leave the practice better than what we started it at, and the same thing with games. So it's a big jump again for us to play quick like this, but I love it. I know they'll be excited about playing. We're really excited to be back here tomorrow night. Should be a great crowd. It's a Saturday night game. I believe we only have 2 Saturday night games, right? We play Ohio State on a Saturday, so this will be the latest Saturday night game we play. So we're looking forward to a great crowd too. And we know Savannah State, they're coming off of a win. They're coming off, they're an extremely athletic team. They can score inside and outside. Their penetration is excellent. They have forwards that can score, and they've got some guys that are shooting pretty high level from the 3-point line. So we really want to improve our defense. We want to improve our ball movement, and at the same time continue to string some successes together if we can.
Have they been consistent in how they've been practicing?
Oh yeah, we've had great practices. Today it's always tougher after a day off, but it was very physical. It was very combative. You try to get a lot done in a relatively short period of time, though it's very hard to go short when you've had a day off and you've got a game the next day. But we knew that when we decided to take yesterday off after going the way we did last week. So they've been very good with those.
Have the first 3 games taught you anything new about your team?
No, I haven't really thought of it like that. I haven't. I just look at it more where we are individually and aspects that we can improve upon. But you don't spend a lot of time. We study all the games. We know what we want to improve. It's really just about making corrections from the game, building on the things that we did well. But I don't really sit back and look at if I'm really learning anything from it. There'll be time for that, maybe when we have more breaks. But I like to break the season up into different segments, and certainly with the numbers and with the film, but we're not there yet.
What improvement on defense? A lot of it has to do with maybe just maturity of these guys, because probably some of the same principles you were teaching last year, maybe they didn't get as much. Now this year they really seem to be buying into it.
Well, I think I think the maturity is a big part of it. I think they're getting stronger, and I think every little bit helps, whether it's a little quicker, a little stronger. I think the reaction time is good, but I think it's just having better awareness, and that's that probably comes from maturity, comes from a lot of repetition. And today's starter practice was like a training camp type of practice. One of the first practices where there was just a ton of going back to some of the most basic things that we do, and I think that's part of refining our edge, making sure that we don't get away from all those fundamental aspects of defense the way that they need to be. We went back and did some things that we did back in the preseason even. So again, it's that constant awareness, it's repetition. And there's a togetherness that comes from defense that if the moment you think it's there, it's probably not. You've got to make sure you're building it every day and building on it every day. I probably should say now once we're in the season.
But the short turnarounds you guys have early in the season, was that something that you kind of wanted as far as the test, or it just kind of came about the way the schedule fit, and how did that play out?
Well, I think it's been, we wanted it early on, but some of this is all part of this tournament. You know, the game with Savannah State and Gardner-Webb, along with the game with Chattanooga, are part of the tournament with Butler, or Classic, I should say. So to me, it's designed to a degree, but it's the way that it is. I mean, next week it works out fine. I mean, if you had a perfect world, maybe you'd play Tuesday, but we'll still be in front of the students on Saturday and Monday. I think that's really important, and then that'll give us some time before the weekend game, and then they'll be back for the Sunday game. So you want to play as many games in front of your students as possible. And to this point, we'll have been able to do that.
Beyond maybe what you picked up live, after watching tape, what do you think the team really did well and needs to work on?
Well, there's a ton of areas to work on. We had an outstanding first half in the sense that our defense created a lot of offense. We had a lot of deflections. The ball moved really well. They shot it with confidence. The ball got inside a lot. In the second half, we did a lot of good things, but there were still times that we played like we were playing with a big lead. And we're not really good at understanding how to do that yet and how to build upon that. And in defense of them, they haven't had a lot of those moments as a group here at Indiana, but we want to have more. So we've got to continue to learn to do that. I think the thing to me that stood out the most is our deflections were not high enough in the second half. So the deflections are always a barometer of active defense. And we made shots, we did some good things. We played we played a whole game, but if you really, really want to get better, we needed to do some better things in the second half. But in the first part of your question, there's a ton of things to improve upon. There's really nothing that we're doing so well that you could look at and say, well, we can kind of put this in auto drive and we'll be fine. I mean, it's too early in the season. So it's that refinement that I keep talking about, refining the things maybe that you're doing well, building on some of the things that you think you can have success with, and really attacking some of the things you're not doing as well. And that's what we're trying to spend our time and practice on.
How important is the sort of taking ownership of that idea of not, I know you talked about this after Evansville, of not wanting to waste good defensive possessions with bad shots? How important has that been to kind of the offensive Christmas ball rotation?
Oh, really important, really important. And I don't think there's, and again, what a coach feels is a bad shot may not be what everybody else feels. So you make your judgments on that, but and sometimes decisions are just poor. But it's like fouling. There's aggressive fouling, and then there's lazy fouling. And it's the same thing. There's aggressive shots that are challenged. There's unintelligent shots. And so you really have to gauge that all the time in the course of the game. But at the same time, you want an aggressive attacking team, and there's going to be mistakes that come up inside of it, and you've got to be able to discern that. But to me, I think when you're really playing at a high level defensively, and you're getting out on the break, and the ball is being shared, and then it just feeds itself as you go forward. And all of a sudden, if somebody starts trying to make a play that's not there, they allow the defense to shift to them, they get into a ball stick mode, I think it stands out. And it's pretty easy to see that. And we don't have a lot of that right now. We're improving. And I thought Wednesday night was the best we had done that to this point all year. And again, that's only after 3 games. But I think ball movement, reversals, inside outs, penetration and kicks. What we really wanted to do the other night more than anything else was draw a crowd and pass it out, not drive into a crowd and force a shot. And I think pretty much, for the most part, we did that.
Coach, for these first 3 games, scoring's been really balanced. How important is it to have that established throughout the rest of the season, not rely on 1 or 2 guys?
I think that's really good. I mean, if you're going to draw it up, you'd want that. But there's going to be some nights it won't be like that. And there'll be nights that defenses really try to take people away. When you've got a passing mentality in your team, and when you have a player like Cody that can move the ball and has the vision that he has, it's really hard to put your defense and clamp down on him and say, if we stop this one guy, nobody else is going to be able to make plays. And the more plays that they make, the easier it's going to be for him. So the balancing act of how it's turning out, it's really not by design. I mean, it's not where we look at it and say, well, let's hope that this guy gets X amount of shots and this guy gets this group of shots. No, let's play. Let's see if we can get off of our defense. Let's see how much ball movement we can get. So I think to do that has really been important. The deflections have been really high in the games, and the assists have been really high in the games. And I think that's a great indication that we're getting it off the D and we're getting it out the next pass.
How much is
How
that?
much higher are the deflections?
I'm not
Just
sure.
like that.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. They're just, we have goals that we want to hit, and I don't really look at it from one year to the next on that, and every team is different, but we know what we want to hit here, and really into how many deflections you get per your minutes on the court. So are you getting 1 every 3, or are you getting 1 every 4, 1 every 5? That's what I'm way more interested in. So when we go back and look at it, we'll look at where a guy is there. Same thing with rebounding. When we want to make a judgment based on 1 year to the next, those are the numbers that really, to me, say everything. I mean, I like to look at, okay, here's where we were after 3 games a year ago, here's where we were after maybe 3 games 2 years ago. Those things are good, but it's a lot more about the individual improvement of the player in the hustle stats that make the difference. So that's how we would look at that.
Does a lot of this, I was gonna say, does a lot of this come back to, as you were talking about before the season, having 5 guys on the floor that you have to defend? I mean, do you feel like that's where you're at now, is that you're
We're heading there. We're heading there. There's no doubt about it. And it was definitely different the other night, looking at the game tape from a year ago with Evansville to looking at it after we played them. Because last year the lane was just completely jammed up and clogged, and they played great help defense because they could. They could sag off different people, and it was not easy to do that the other night. And we've got to continue to improve at that pace for that to happen.
I was going to, in that same vein, how much does that speak to the development of the unselfishness of guys, too?
Well, I think our players are better. I think they're getting better. I think unselfishness is important, but I think there's a respect level for one another. And like I said, if you start trying to do too much on this team, you'll stand out pretty quick and not in a positive light. So I think that everything is improved, but a lot of room to improve even more. And I think that's what we're focused on. And how much better can we get in certain areas in a short period of time? And that's what you really want to get in the short term of your coaching. And then over the long term, okay, this is what we're trying to get to as we get to this point and that point. So you keep that in mind too. But you're really coaching with a short-term mindset in your practices, but with a long-term vision in how you plan it.
So you believe that accountability is what's leading to that unselfishness? Because you said if someone's being selfish, you're going to stand out.
Well, I think they know that there's so many more guys can go in the game. I mean, I'm having enough trouble finding minutes for certain guys as it is that you don't want to back off. And I think that's really important here. And it's one thing we've always wanted that, but whether it be lack of talent or whether it be the injuries, it's really held that back. And we're still not a team that can deal with a lot of injuries right now, believe me. And we don't have that kind of deep team yet, for those high quality minutes, because some of the key guys that we need are coming back from an injury like Derek or young, like Remy and Austin, and haven't done it yet. So that's all part of it. But you want that inner competition every day where they know that if they're not competing at a high level, they can skip a turn.
How different has Derek been? It just seems like he's been, I don't know, maybe more explosive or active because he's healthy. I mean, how much different
Well,
is
I
he
think the
now?
health has been a huge part of it, which has brought his confidence back. And he's worked hard this offseason, where a year ago he may not have worked. He didn't work as hard a year ago in the offseason, but this one he really did. And but again, with everything being said, when a guy can make shots the way he can and is athletic like he can, when you don't have your health, you're really just going to be a shell of yourself. And that's the way it was for him. But he's really improving in those areas, and I think his confidence will continue to grow as his health continues to improve.
Anything else?
Do you feel like you're getting closer to an established rotation now, or is that a
No.
far way off still?
Yeah, I really don't think like that. And it's good in theory, but in fact, it's a lot harder. And I think the moment that you start putting guys into, now roles and rotations are two entirely different things. And knowing what your role is. But as far as a rotation, it's very, very important that they know there's competition there every day. I mean, it'll look different tomorrow night, just based on today's practice. So that's to me, I think that's the essence of what you're trying to get with your team.
Are you at the point right now, I guess, that guys don't feel like they have to hunt shots or score so many points? I mean, because last year you wanted Jordy to take so many, or maybe take a shot that was semi-open just to get it. Are you at the point now where this group doesn't have to think that way, that they can always make it to the next pass without
thinking like that would be detrimental to their quality of play. No question. Seriously, no question. I mean, it's because they're proving the theory's right. The more the ball moves, the better you defend. The more points you score, the more action there is, and it's a fun way to play. And so I think that's really important. But the defense is crucial, because if you're going to win and if you're going to score points, you've got to be able to do it off of your defense. And defense starts with transition and ends with the defensive rebound. And there's going to be really good teams that don't turn the ball over very much. But you've got to get enough stops and still be able to stay committed enough to a running game that you still give yourself those opportunities. Like tomorrow night, I think one of the keys to Savannah State is they get a lot of easy baskets. If you step up on penetration, if you're out there chasing the guard and Blackman and he gets into the lane and you have to step up because he's so fast and quick and he dishes it off, that's how they won the other night. you can't give up easy baskets. Well, at the same time, you want to try to get as many as you can. It sounds simple, but it's a lot harder in fact. And we've got 3 years to show that it's a lot harder in fact. But the more that you're aggressive, that's why those deflection numbers are so crucial. You know, and I don't know what the number is to the point of those deflections that turn into baskets. It'd be a good stat for us to probably look at keeping, but I know that the more you get, the better you're going to play.
What did you make of the fact that you guys got 94 points and nobody took more than 8 shots?
Didn't even think about the 8 shots. Didn't even look at it like that. It's a good
Nobody
point.
took more than 8.
I knew we had 5 guys in double figures. I didn't even look at it that way because we got to the foul line.
Right.
And I'm not even thinking about that.
Okay.
I'm really not. Even when Christian had some tough shooting nights early in the season, I wasn't as concerned about that as I was the lack of aggressiveness in other areas. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. It's a very rare player that can play average on one end and be so high level on the other that his team doesn't suffer from it. You've got to be really, really good and active on the defensive end and on the rebounding side of it and the communication side of it. That's usually, for most players, what turns into really good offense. So to me, that's what I look at, probably closer than anything. And again, honestly, I didn't even look at the 8-shot thing. I know we got some guys shooting high percentages, because that makes sense.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.